It's my birthday today. It's 4:42 a.m.
Everyone's obsessed. Each model has double the trade.
A friend of mine told me that my sunglasses look like pimp glasses, and now I can't unsee it. Yeah, I just had that chair. That thought I just had. I actually used to live in Chicago when I went to college for like a year. So coming here is always nice because I can always like go by the places I used to be and I'm not completely lost or anything. I have to sneeze. Oh. Just kidding. Anyways. Okay, so I'm gonna start off by saying this has been one of the best birthdays I've ever had. I had an amazing time. I have been able to spoil myself to no ends. And I had a really good day on Tuesday. It was Tuesday, it's Thursday. 2 days ago, I had a really good day, but I did have a couple, how do we say, challenges, I would say. A couple little dips, you know, in my day. And I wanted to talk about them because it feels relevant to talk about them. Basically, what I promised myself this year was that I was gonna get myself whatever I wanted. That was what I promised myself because I never get to spoil myself this much, and it's my 21st birthday and I wanted it to be really special. So I promised myself I would get whatever I want, which I did, majorly. Until I got to a Lululemon store. We all know about Lululemon. Okay, she's a bit pricey, she's a bit up there. And there was this, it was like one of those cropped zip up like compression jackets. They're really cute, but they're like $130, which for me is expensive. I mean, it is expensive, period. And I have at this point gotten myself a lot of things. So for some reason, I don't know why this specific purchase was so much more, felt so much more exaggerated than everything else. But when I was in the store, I was having a really hard time processing my decision, and I kept going back and forth and being like, well, I want it, so I should get it, but it's really expensive and I don't know if I want to put that much money into a jacket, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to have enough afterwards. And my brain just kept going to all these different thoughts, and it got so bad to the point where I kind of I wouldn't say it was an anxiety attack, but I definitely like almost started crying. Like I did cry. I mean, I didn't cry in the store, but like I went to the bathroom or whatever. But it was just not a pleasant experience. Not pleasant at all. And I wanted to talk about it because in my past videos, I talk about, you know, the process of overcoming a bad mental state isn't gonna be just this linear process of every day it's gonna get easier and easier and it's just gonna get better and better, and because I'm focusing on it and I'm looking to improve on it, it's just gonna, you know, be a downhill kind of ride, and that's not the case at all. The process is much more complicated and you are going to have setbacks. 100%, 1000%, you are gonna have setbacks. You can go weeks or days without having, you know, dealing with the problem that you're dealing with. You know, specifically we could talk about anxiety. you can not experience it for even months. You can be, you know, I'm like, because before that day, I hadn't had any problems with spending money. Not majorly. I don't know why that specifically kind of triggered it, but it did. And it just shows that you can have days where all the work that you've done can feel like it didn't do anything. That you could feel like you were just where you started. 100%. And that's just a part of the process. It really is. You are gonna have days where it's gonna be harder than others, and some days it's gonna be great, and some days it's not. And it's gonna be like that for a long time, okay? For a long time. Speaking from my experience, you know, it's not, especially when it comes to anxiety, anxiety is never something that you're just gonna be able to get rid of. I mean, it's an emotion. So you can't just get rid of your anger, you can't just get rid of your sadness, you can't just get rid of your happiness. It's there for a reason. You're feeling it because that's how you feel. But it's more coming to terms with learning how to live with it instead of trying to live without it. And when it comes to anxiety, a big part of it is it feels so much bigger and scarier than it actually is. Because when I was in that store and I was racing all these thoughts, I was completely in my head. I was not in reality. I was completely in my head, and that can make it seem way more exaggerated, way more like isolated. And then because it's happening in your head and it's this huge thing, you kind of get blocked out from everything else. And because of that, you feel like other people notice because of how much you're feeling it, but people obviously can't feel how you're feeling. And so that was the other thing, was that when I was in the store, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm taking so long to decide. They don't, like, I don't want to be in the store and try on stuff and then not buy anything and whatever. When in reality, no one probably cared. And that's the thing, I was talking about this in my last video, is I talk a big game when it comes to advice and applying things to your life, but I still have to struggle with the same things that I talk about in my videos. So when I talk about you shouldn't compare yourself to others, you shouldn't worry about what they think about you, you shouldn't, but it's not the easiest thing to just not care. You shouldn't care, but for so long we're taught that we should, and you shouldn't. So it's hard to just try to completely change the way you live and to not care. It's hard. Like, I can say all I want, oh, you shouldn't care about what other people think about you, but there's still a part of me that does. Because that's just how I used to live for so many years. And I have changed tremendously. And I have grown a lot. But that doesn't mean that I don't have setbacks and that I don't have insecurities or worries that come up. And they do. But a big part of it is realizing that I don't have to have those. And then learning to grow out of those habits and things, which takes time and patience, and yeah. Let's see. Sorry, I'm reading my little notebook. Yeah, I talked about all this. And when it comes to anxiety, you have to learn how to notice it, first of all. Notice your anxiety, because your anxiety is something that likes to take over your mind completely. It likes to scream at you. It likes to protect you. You know that Inside Out 2 movie? That's literally what I'm talking about right now. Like, she's just trying to protect you. That's all. She's trying to keep you safe. That's why when people have fears of planes and getting on planes, like I have anxiety when I go on planes, because your brain's trying to protect you. It's like, you know, there are plane casualties that happen, and you don't ever want to put yourself in a dangerous situation. So for me, growing up, I was always aware of my parents' money problems. And I'm not blaming them or anything, because sometimes that's going to be something hard to hide, especially when I was just such a like observant child, and I just was always curious about what my parents were doing and stuff. So I was just always aware of my parents' financial problems, and that's one of my biggest fears, is to have those same financial problems for myself. So when I spend a lot of money, or like an emergency comes up where I have to spend a lot of money, I can get really anxious, because I'm trying to protect myself from being in that situation. So it takes me a long time to decide if I want something truly, and also because I just don't want to waste my money or buy something and regret it. So it causes me a lot of stress, which I don't want it to, because I have the money. I have enough money I could have bought that jacket. I 100% could have. I didn't because it was making me so anxious, but I totally could have. But a part of me is so scared that if I do, I'm not gonna have enough money for something else or whatever it may be. But I have to learn that A, I'm not my parents. B, I have to learn how to trust myself. And that's also a big thing. You have to learn how to trust yourself and trust that you will make the right decision. Period. And that is such a hard process. It's very, very hard. I'm still doing it, obviously. So it comes with time though. Oh, another thing about anxiety is when we have anxiety about, I don't want to say it's a stupid problem because it's not, but looking at it from a different perspective, it is kind of a stupid problem. Like, I'm contemplating buying a freaking Lululemon jacket. It's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? And after I got out of the mall, I remember, well, when I was in the mall, first of all, I was around, it was a really nice mall. Like, it was like a lot of luxury stores. Like, there was like a Gucci store and stores I didn't even know existed. Like, it was a really fancy mall. And the people around there clearly had clearly were wealthy. They were wealthy people. Like, you could just tell by the way they dressed, the way they act. They were wealthy people. So being around that kind of environment and having anxiety about spending my money made me feel less than them, even though that's not true. But it made me feel less than them because I had to worry about it, when everybody else around me probably wouldn't think twice about it. Or in my head, that's what I think because they look physically wealthy. But then what happened was I went outside the mall and I'm walking along the street and I see a homeless person with a sign begging for money. And then I felt horrible and I kind of beat myself up for it, which you should never beat yourself up for the things that you feel and the anxieties that you have. Because obviously everybody has their own life path, everybody has their own worries, their own struggles. Some people's are harder than others, but you're still allowed to have your own. But a big thing that helped me with that is when you are dealing with comparisons and things like that, you should never look at it negatively. Instead of me beating myself up for complaining over a Lululemon jacket, it made me feel, on the other side, it made me feel really grateful that I even have a decision to say yes or no. That I even have to contemplate getting an over $100 jacket. That I can even put myself into that perspective and say, I could have got that jacket. And say, I don't have to worry about being on the street or begging for money or the food I'm gonna eat, because it all comes to me. Like, I don't have to worry about that stuff. So seeing that from two completely opposite perspectives, it really broadens the way that you think, and it makes you grateful for the things that you do have. And I realized after seeing them that it's really not a big deal. It's not a big deal. And looking back on it, you know, obviously my feelings were valid in the moment, and I'm learning how to try and not have my mind take over and completely overthink a situation like that. But now that I've experienced that and I had those perspective shifts, I can now think about that and apply that for the rest of my life. So anytime I come to a big decision where I'm contemplating buying something that's a lot of money, just being able to have that decision, now I know that's a privilege in itself. So when it comes to anxiety, you can't get rid of it. It's good to know where it comes from and why it's there, and why it's trying to protect you or to keep you from danger. And it's something that you want to learn to work with, not to work against. And you don't want to try to completely suffocate it either, because it's still there, and suffocating it isn't going to make it go away. So you want to have those thoughts. You want to observe those thoughts. You want to detach yourself from those thoughts. And I'm saying this not only to you, but also to myself, because I'm obviously, it's a learning process for me too. So learning to detach yourself from your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You are supposed to observe your thoughts. And that's it. Observe them, realize why they're there, and then move from there. So I observe my thoughts of me contemplating a decision for buying an expensive thing. I know I feel anxious because of it, because of the way I grew up and the worries that I have about financial issues. Moving forward, I know now from the situation and learning from the situation that I'm allowed to contemplate purchases, but I shouldn't make the purchase so much more impactful than it really is, because it's just a Lululemon jacket. That's it. You might be wondering, are you gonna buy the jacket? Yeah, I am. I am, because one thing for me is I know that it's been on my mind since then, so I know that's how I really want it, and that's a thing I do where when it comes to a bigger purchase, and I know I can plan for the bigger purchase if it's on my mind for so long. I literally have a list. I have a list of things that I want to buy, legitimately, like a list of things I want to buy, and I know that because these things have been there for so long, I know that I actually want them. So that's just what I do. But yeah, I think I'm done talking. I think that was it. I think I covered what I wanted to cover. But yeah, you just gotta get out of your head. Your head is a scary, scary place. It's so scary. And it makes things way more dramatic than they are. Okay? Because if I would have been in my body in that store, I would have been like, you know what, I'll just think about it. That's it. If I could go back and redo that, that's what I would have done. I would say, well, I don't have to buy it now. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed me ranting again, and hopefully you got something out of this, and hopefully you enjoyed. Like and subscribe. I always feel so cringy when I say that, but I feel like I have to. But anyways, have a good day, have a good night, have a good life. I'll see you next week. Or not. We'll see. But yeah. Okay, bye. Thanks for watching. Also, thank you for watching. Of course. Thank you.